Hey everyone. So today I'm here with my friend Ellie, and we are going to talk about some secrets to creating a drama-free holiday season as a couple with family. I know, like, if you celebrate and you feel like me, this time of year can get kind of stressful and overwhelming. I don't know how you feel about it, Ellie. What's it like at your end?
It's a bunch of things, like you're trying to do everything in time. The month just flies by like a single week. But it's
Oh my
also
God.
really fun and chaotic.
Yeah, just to record this video too. I'm like reaching out to you at the last minute. I'm like, oh my gosh, we should do something for the holidays, but it's like halfway through the month. Like, how do we squeeze this
Yeah.
in? But I think this is a really important topic to talk about because I know for myself, like I just to be open and honest with you and everyone, I don't think we've ever talked about this, but back in the day, I was someone who suffered with a lot of anxiety. Like I was the classic panic attack girl. But like couldn't breathe, my heart was racing, and it would always like I feel like it would always be exacerbated during the holiday season. Like the chaos just and the
hmm
pressure would just really get to me. And I know for myself, the first tip I wanted to share today, the first tip or secret, whatever we want to call it, is to really, connect to like your feelings and really, practice mindfulness and to really just kind of honor that. I know at the beginning when I was keeping like a lot of pressure on myself and trying to stay composed and keep it all together. And a lot of times I wouldn't even talk to my partner about it because like I felt like I had to, be super mom, super wife, super
hmm
like daughter in law and everything. And it would put so much pressure onto me. But then when I started learning to communicate my emotions more and really honor them and be in touch with them, that's when it really started alleviating some of the burden. So, like, even this year,
hmm
it started happening. My stepdaughter is coming over from overseas from studying for the holidays. And then my side of the family was planning stuff. And I started feeling really anxious again. And I had to I want to talk to my partner about it, obviously. And the thing is with men, I don't know how you feel, Ellie, but sometimes when you share your emotions and how you're feeling, you have to be a little bit careful. You don't want to, make it seem like they're doing something wrong or
hmm
complaining too much, right? And I think the first thing I wanted to share today was really, it's okay to be open about your emotions. And if you want to talk about it, start with kind of just stating how you feel. Like I just brought it up to my husband and I was like, I'm feeling anxious and overwhelmed. It's nothing with you. This is what's going on in my mind. What do you think? Right? Like I think
hmm
obviously the classic I statements, making sure there's no blame or shame or guilt on his part, and even asking him, what do you think? How do you see this going? What are your thoughts on that, Ellie? Or what have you experienced in terms of chaos or helping women through this season?
Yeah. So, honestly, I'm very similar to you, and I was like that too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
would freak out and panic and be like, I need to go get gifts. I need to do this. We're so behind. We don't have all the decorations, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's very familiar to all the moms and the women that are trying to create magic for their families and create experiences. So I get that completely. And I think what you're saying is very relevant. And maybe like for me, for example, in my marriage, sometimes it's better not to share with my husband because he is overwhelmed himself. He runs his own business,
Hmm.
and it's like one of those things that's like, when we're together, he'd rather just spend time with me instead of have me like complain about something.
Yeah.
And so I find that in our relationship, it's actually really nice for me to just, when I put the kids to bed, just go take a bath or do something for me. Or like when he is home, I'll go and, do a little cycling class and go get a coffee, 5 minutes to myself. And I like really take that time, like you said, to just thank myself for doing that one thing for me. Even if it was like a 5 minute thing, it didn't cost me too much, but I do that and I like try to appreciate that. So
Yeah.
um, I think that that's very individual per couple, and
Yeah.
I think it's very fascinating and amazing that your husband is willing to talk to you about it. That's a really nice, I guess, thing about your relationship. It shows that you're compatible, which is great. In my relationship, it's a little bit different. So I want to let women know that wherever you are in your relationship, you're totally okay to feel whatever you're feeling. And like you said, to just take that moment to yourself to try to process what you're feeling instead of just getting all chaotic is going to really help alleviate all of that stress for
Yeah,
sure.
whatever's going to help remove kind of that emotional burden off yourself, whether it's like talking about it openly. And one of the things too, I want to
Mhm.
clarify is sometimes like I see with women, we feel this need to, overshare our feelings, our emotions, and that's where it can get really tricky. Like, so when I share,
Mhm.
like, how I bring it up to my husband, I wanted to be clear that we're not going into these big, deep conversations, right? For me, it was just a way to get it off my chest, and in my circumstance too. And this is going to lead into one of your tips that I'll kind of steer us towards after. But it was a situation too that was stressing me out that he was kind of that affected him, right? Because it was more related to his biological daughter. And
Mhm.
I needed
Mhm.
some sort of like reassurance, or I wanted to come to some kind of understanding of where things were kind of going with the holiday season. But yeah, if you can do something, even if it's like journaling out how you're feeling during the holidays, that is something huge that really helps me without having to go into these big, deep conversations that, yeah, like you said, will put additional pressure on your partner. And that's actually going to be another tip I share a little bit later in
Really?
terms of, because
See,
yeah, the
we're like
men can get
thinking
stressed out.
super in sync. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, let me like segue us back into like one of your tips. I know you wanted to talk about like distant family during the holidays and how to navigate that because I'm in a similar situation where one side of the family, like they're away, and even like some of the kids in our family are away. So during the holidays, it's like, how do you
Mhm.
how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so I wanted to bring that up too because I think a lot of women, um, especially during the holidays, if you don't necessarily have the best relationship with some of your family members, it can feel really stressful. And you're like, oh my gosh, I know I'm gonna have to deal with this. I know someone's gonna not gonna be so happy about something. So I completely get that. I think we all have that friend, or we are maybe in a situation where we don't get along with somebody from our husband's side or from our side, even. And that's totally normal. There's no need to pretend that we all live in this happy, perfect world because
Yeah.
everybody is individual. My best advice for that would actually be to kind of recognize the I want to say prejudice, but maybe that's the wrong word. But we all have like, associations with somebody. And if you have a lot of negative ones and you're already, in an intense environment where you're trying to plan stuff, you're trying to make sure everything's going well, smoothly, you might have a lot of pressure on getting the right gifts. And then on top of that, you're gonna see someone that you might not really like. So my best advice would be to actually write out everything that you think about someone and just kind
Mm,
of allow yourself to leave it there so that you can
yeah.
experience whatever comes because you might be pleasantly surprised. Sometimes, someone that you thought poorly of, maybe they had some kind of change in life, and when they show up to your house for that holiday, they might actually genuinely appreciate that moment. But if you already are guarded, you can't experience that. And then worst case scenario, you'll just prove yourself right that they are the way they are. But
Then you
I
can tap
found
yourself
it.
on the back. I was right.
Yeah, like, yep, I got that one.
I love that. And even just like having like that goes back to I love talking about manifestation too, because like that comes
Uh-huh.
back like if you're have that preconceived idea in your head, like if you're focusing your energy on that, you might manifest that too, right? So I love the idea of
Yes.
even getting it off your chest. Maybe it's not realistic to like slap some fake positivity on it and, try to visualize that they're going to come in and it's going to be all like perfect and everyone's going to agree and be happy together. But even just like if getting yourself to like a neutral state and just being
Mhm.
open to whatever happens. And hey, if you're pleasantly surprised, like you said, yay, like that's just going to be an extra bonus during the holidays. And if you were right, well, at least like before they came in, you could kind of remove some of that negative energy and not go in there feeling like, ugh, and
Yes, already
it
like, oh,
happens. Yeah,
dragging
you're
my
just
feet through this.
doubling or extending the
And
the
one of
displeasure or
the
the
other things,
discomfort.
yeah, one thing that really helps me with like dealing with maybe someone I'm not too excited to see is just thinking that, like life is really so short. And if you're going in there, you never know when the last time is that you're going to see somebody. And I'm not trying to scare anybody,
Yeah.
but realistically, you never know how life goes. So make the most out of it, especially
Absolutely.
during the holidays when you see people that you don't see on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And actually that will like skip over, I think, the order of the secrets or the tips I was going to talk about. But I always love to share with women too, to like make sure to make the most of the holidays too, right? Like
Mhm.
we can get caught up on all of the chaos and the family and the stuff that we have to do. But this is like a great opportunity too to make sure you really build those memories, as a family, but also like in your relationship too. This can be a time where there is a lot of like disagreement with your husband or stress between the two of you if you guys aren't, you know, connecting or at least individually taking care of yourselves, or at least one of you taking
Right.
care of yourself so you can show up kind of strong and kind of balance out that dynamic or compensate, and be kind of level-headed or whatever the situation is,
Mhm.
to really make sure to anchor in those moments too and really create those memories, because I think that's something that happens a lot in relationships where like you're struggling with your partner. I know when I went through a phase, with my husband, it's like you tend to focus on the bad a lot. And when you're in it, you're
Mhm.
still kind of stuck in it. And you want to be able to look back on your love story and your love journey with your husband and remember these wonderful moments. So one of like the big tips I would encourage women to do and is to really focus and be intentional about creating wonderful memories that you can look back on and not just remember back thinking of like Aunt Susie who came over and stressed you guys all out, right? Like that can be a memory, but maybe not the predominant one. Like this is a great opportunity to really build those memories together.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And, like I had a couple of girls reach out to me and they were kind of talking about how they feel extra lonely during the holiday
Oh
season.
yeah.
And I'm like, I guess that is a big thing, like we kind of take our partner for granted and we think about all the things that are wrong or aren't going as planned. And then there are people who are like watching you and they're thinking, man, I wish I had somebody. So
Yeah.
the fact that you found someone that you want to spend your life with is amazing. And I think sometimes we do take it for granted, for sure.
Yeah, totally. What would be another tip or a secret that you have for ladies?
Okay, I wanted to talk about getting a gift that you don't actually like.
That is so juicy. When you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, we must. We must.
Yeah, have you seen like a couple of years ago? I'm pretty sure maybe the audience will remember, but there was like a video going up where a lady didn't have anything in her stocking because it was her husband's job to do it. And everybody had so much to say about that. And I'm like, man, like that's so sad. And I felt bad for her genuinely, during that moment. But then I like started thinking about it, you know, um, I I don't want to say like someone's bad and someone's good because every relationship, like both parties contribute to the circumstance of that relationship. But I think it's very important to be vocal and maybe like leave hints about what you do want
Yeah.
to receive. And then when you get something and maybe it's not exactly what you were thinking about, men tend to take that very personally.
Yeah.
I've noticed. So if they get you something and they tried and they thought that it was something that you liked, but you don't, at least give them the satisfaction that you're happy with their efforts, and then
Mhm.
maybe lead on with something like, like, I really appreciate this. This is amazing that you did this for me, that you thought of me. I love it. I also want this. So maybe another time you could. That's what
Yeah.
I would do, kind of do it in a very soft, gentle way where it doesn't feel like rejection to them, where it doesn't feel like they're being, um, unappreciated because a lot of men, when they do something for you, they want those emotions that women give off with the excitement, the appreciation, the gratitude, lifting him up. So if you deprive your man of that, the chances of him wanting to repeat that are going to be slim to none.
Definitely.
Like for example, he buys you the bouquet you don't want and you criticize the color or the flowers that he picked, most likely he's not going to want to do it, again. And what you
Yeah.
could do with in that specific situation is just show him the flowers that you do like at a different time. Don't do it
Mhm.
right away.
Yeah.
um, I think that's like a very wise woman way of handling something that you might not love, but you definitely want to show appreciation.
And I
What
love
are
how
your
you're like
thoughts?
proactive in what you're sharing too. Like I do that all the time. I don't, when it comes to like Christmas or my birthday, like 90% of the time, I'm going to be very specific in terms of what I want. I'm not going to wait and hope that he
Me
read my
too.
mind or remembered what I said 2 months ago or whatnot. I'm like, no, no, I'm going to be very prescriptive and I'm going to remind him unless I'm actually open to receiving whatever. Like unless I'm
Mhm.
actually, there's nothing, I have nothing in mind, I'll just let him pick something out. And then obviously if I'm going to do that, then I'm going to be happy to get whatever because I couldn't agree more. Like if the man feels like he's just going to like disappoint you or, you know,
Mhm.
not, put you like in a bad mood or upset you, he's not going to want to take that risk anymore. Like he's going to avoid
Yeah.
that at all costs. He'd probably rather do nothing than, disappoint you or get it wrong because men just thrive on achievement and success. So it's something really to
Yeah.
remember.
And one of the things that you said, which is I think really important to note, is the fact that you kind of have to repeat whatever you want or
Yeah.
tell them multiple times or send them like options and like say, I really like out of the options I sent you, I really like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, we
I
have
think
to
it's
not be
really nice.
afraid, but of doing that. And I know like women get disappointed because they're like, "Oh, I feel like he should know, or if he loves me, he would know." But like I don't know. Personally, I don't think that's the best measure of love is how much
Yeah.
someone remembers something like that. Anyways, like it depends. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth because someone will say, "Oh, Mireille, if he doesn't remember your birthday, that's pretty horrible." But for like kind
Yeah.
of gifts that you might have mentioned once, or and we have to be really intentional too about when we express what it is that we desire, right? Like, is he
Mhm.
distracted? Are you mentioning it when he's doing something else? Like when he's at work or focused on something. Like we do have like part responsibility and we have that power to
Mhm.
ensure that he buys that gift and whatnot.
I also wanted to something came to mind while you were speaking. Um, a lot of men that I've noticed, like my people close to me, I've noticed that they want to check in with their woman and to make sure that, like, are you happy? Are you, is there anything it could give you? Like, there are conversations that they bring up, and that would be the ideal time to like bring something up that you want from them. And you just kind of have to figure out when your man is talking about it because we all do, we're intimate with our partners, we're
Yeah.
close to them. So pick a time. But I
Yeah.
wanted to throw that out there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember this. And a lot of my girlfriends, they talk about like, yeah, like, sometimes he'll start asking me, like, what do I want for the future? And I'm like, yes, that is your golden chance.
Do it. Yeah, absolutely. I forget where we're at. Is it your turn now to give it to? No, you just did that.
Yours.
You did the gift. Are we at the third one already? So this would be my
Yes, I
third
think
one and my
so.
last one. So the other thing is kind of going back, circling back to what you shared earlier, right? About, and my husband is like that too. So he owns his own, he's a consultant, so he kind of owns his own business and everything, and he has clients, and there is a lot of pressure. Less so during the holidays, luckily. I guess it depends on the industry too.
Mhm.
So one of the things, and I always share that my husband and I were just very emotional people. Like if you're into astrology, like I'm Cancer,
Uh-huh.
I'm super sensitive in my shell, and he's Scorpio. Like his emotional world is like crazy. So that is something that we have to really tend to carefully in our dynamic. But one of the things I'd like to share too is if you notice like your partner is moody during the holiday season, and I've seen women do this all the time, just I guess just in general times when there might be they can sense something is off with their partner is to avoid leading in with, are you mad? Is something wrong? Like
Mhm.
something very
Direct.
direct and pointed. And I always say it's good to be brief and concise with your partner, but when it comes to something kind of sensitive, like his emotions, his overwhelm too, I always recommend you go into it as gently as you can, right? So you can say something
Mhm.
like, "Hey, I noticed," or "I might be off, but it seems like," and see if he opens up, and not necessarily because maybe, men don't always want to just like talk about their emotions. Like
Mhm.
a lot of
Mhm.
women wish they would and would feel more emotionally connected. But this is just an opportunity for him to open up if he chooses to, right? This can be something
Mhm.
even just for yourself. And I hate to say, do it for yourself because that can sound codependent. But if you notice and you just want to show support and just open the door, you can always just say something simply like, hey, it seems like, or I noticed, and just see if he wants to open up. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. You did your part. You did your part. You were a partner. You were supportive, and to just make sure, that communication is still there. And if there's something that bothers him about the holidays or whatnot, he has a chance, or he doesn't, right? So
Mhm.
avoid going in with, are you mad? What's the problem? Or just make assumptions too, right? You might make assumptions
Yeah.
and let's avoid those, especially your questions.
Yeah, this sounds like our overall theme. Like, that's a
Yeah.
good idea to do. Just avoid the assumptions.
Yeah. And people will say, well, that's not good communication, right? Like it's the communication is key, is always the golden standard. But communication is also, I feel like, about timing too. And that's
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
that, I feel a lot of us forget, that it's like, oh, we need to talk about it now when it's bothering us. When in fact, as long as you address it, we're not saying to stuff it. Well, I'm not saying to like sweep it under the rug forever, but
Mhm.
there's like a time and place for everything. Um, so don't avoid it, but also be very mindful of when you bring these things up, or even if you bring these up, is if like in your case, you know, if your husband's very overwhelmed or whatnot, and it's not the right time or the right circumstance, then respect that. Respect it.
Yeah, yeah. And my tip of what I was going to say kind of leads bounces off of yours.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, I was going to say that like with the holidays, your first step should be try to connect with your partner instead of try to
Mm,
address and resolve things.
yes.
Because your partner, like men, sometimes they don't want to talk, and the most important thing for them is to know that you're there, your presence. It's already calming to them, especially if you're not the one that's like agitated and running around, where
Yeah.
you're able to like show them love or like just be there for your partner, as a good partner would be. As we all want
Yeah.
to be treated. But sometimes words are not the way to a man's heart. It's just being
Mm,
there in your presence and your overall, I guess, love and acceptance of him. And so that's what I was going to say. Like maybe lead off through the stressful, season. Um, like be the calm place for your partner when you're together because you're not there. You're probably not together 24/7.
yeah.
So the moments that you do have together, just be the peace because he's already doing all the crazy stuff. You're doing all the crazy stuff. And when you come together, it's just that safe nest that you both need. So that was going
Yeah.
to be my tip.
I love that. That is so important. Yeah, it's not, I just want to repeat, you don't always have to address and resolve. That is like
Yeah.
such a key takeaway. And yeah, just being present and just being that warmth and safety um, is going to
That
be,
you desire most
yeah,
likely from your partner and then have them show that back to you. So
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my
I
God.
love this chat. I already have like
I
goosebumps.
goosebumps. Yeah, I was just going to
No.
say that. I think this was so powerful. And I hope
Mhm.
for all the ladies that are watching, it was powerful for you too. If you have any questions for us, leave them in the comments below and we will come back in and answer in any way we can to support you guys, because we hope you guys all have a holiday season if you're celebrating. And any final words, Ellie, or are we covered?
No, just happy holidays. Enjoy your families.
Yes, we will talk to you guys later.
Thank you.